Good evening, everybody. Thank you for returning. Thank you for watching the previous videos. I know there's been some comments. I appreciate that. So tonight we're going to do a vitamin C video. And my rationale for this, just to give you a little bit of background, when I was growing up and really into adult life, I had a really strong craving a lot of times for salad and mashed potatoes together. And I don't know if it's the warm creaminess of the potato mix, juxtaposed against the crispness and the coolness of the salad, the crunch versus the cream. I don't know what it is, but there's something about that contrast that has always appealed to me. And so I figured what I would do tonight is ceviche. And obviously that'll give us a very heavy dose of vitamin C with the amount of things that we're going to incorporate into it. And along with that, I have also chosen Yukon Gold potatoes. Now I'm not going to do mashed potatoes, like a little pile of mashed potatoes. We are going to do potato cakes. And, and basically this is just an evolution of the constant craving that I've always had for those two foods together. I know it might sound weird, but it is what it is, and I don't know that I'm going to question it. So let's go ahead and dig right into this. Now, I did want to do vitamin C. Obviously, we're coming, out of a pandemic, and I guess kind of on the tail end of it and still a little bit in it. Vitamin C acts, as you know, as a powerful antioxidant. It protects cells from free radical damage. Part of the mechanism of that is that vitamin C is critical to collagen synthesis. And so this is why you'll see, anti-aging products on the shelves with vitamin C additives, especially in conjunction with dermatology collagen formulas. So, it's widely known for enhancing immunity, and it does so in a wide variety of ways. I think of the immune system as little warriors. We have these little cells running around that they each do different things, and basically when you hand them vitamin C, it's like handing them new artillery, new grenades, new rifles, whatever, and it has, the capacity to boost what the cell actually already does, and it just makes it better at its job. And so, that's kind of the deal with that. And then also vitamin C comes in after the war. You start feeling better. You get over your cold, you get over the flu, COVID, whatever you have, you start getting over that. And vitamin C then comes in and starts cleaning up the battlefield. And it starts, repairing tissues, repairing cell walls, repairing, all these different things, and just starts sweeping up all the mess. That's it for that. So I'm going to jump right in here. What I have here is some shrimp. And on the bag here, it said it was, from Antarctic waters in South Argentina. So it says it has a lobster texture. So we'll go ahead and try these out. Now this is a pound of shrimp, and I'm only one person, so I don't think I can eat all this, so I'm probably going to do only half the bag here. In and of itself, shrimp is not known for vitamin C content, but it was an excellent way to obtain vitamin C with all the other things. It's a great vehicle for everything else that we're going to be putting into it. So I'm going to chop these down a little bit and make little ceviche-sized bites. It said that these are peeled and deveined. Let's see if that's accurate. Sort of. I always make sure that they get down to the very ends when they say they've been deveined. I think overall we're good. All right. These have been a little bit frozen, obviously. I thawed them out slightly. And then, also, as you know, ceviche is quote-unquote cooked with citric acid. So we're going to add lime juice to this. And the acid in the limes will denature the proteins, and we will, in essence, cook the shrimp without adding heat. And you will watch these little, these little translucent pieces turn opaque as the citric acid does its work. And that's when you know that the proteins have been broken down enough to go ahead and eat it. Lime juice is about a 2 to 3 on the pH scale. So it's one of the more acidic versions of citrus that we actually have. If you take all citrus together, limes are the most, I think grapefruit and limes are the most acidic. Yeah, there is no way I'm going to be able to eat all this by the time it's done. I'm going to need help. Okay, so now we're going to put this into our bowl. And before we go any further, this is all now contaminated with shrimp, so I'm going to wash everything down and bleach the area, and then we will go ahead and start adding ingredients to our bowl. Okay, we are now sanitized, everything is clean, and we're going to go ahead and start with, we're going to squeeze limes. We're going to be squeezing the lime juice into the shrimp. This will cook the shrimp, and we'll go ahead and let that sit for probably about 20 minutes or so, or basically however long it takes for the shrimp to become opaque. And then we have other projects to do in the meantime. So we'll go ahead and start with that. I'm also going to add some lime zest to this, as well as the juice. Give it a little bit of a punch. This is one of those things where I'm assuming these are clean. I probably shouldn't assume that, but since they're all wrapped up nicely, I don't know if they are or not. And I'm not sure how many limes it's going to take, so let's find out. There's no seeds coming out of this, but there is some pulp, and the pulp is good. I'll go ahead and toss that in there. And again, just zesting our lime. And as we did on one of the previous videos, we don't want to go into the pith. We just want to get that slight outer layer of green without getting into any of the white part. And we certainly have enough limes here to be able to not be frugal with that. So don't worry about the yield. I did scrape up the sides of the bowl with this spatula, so I'm gonna squeeze the lime juice all the way down the sides of the bowl to cook anything that I just mixed up on the sides. And I'll do one more, and we've pretty much saturated this at this point. All right. And again, just going up along the sides of the bowl because I kind of stirred it around. We don't want anything raw infusing with the vegetables that are going to get added. Now the secret to this is, you know, we want it cooked, we want it opaque, but we don't want to soak it for too long because then it'll become rubbery. And actually, as I'm stirring this right now, even now, I'm starting to see some of the opaque pieces coming through. So we don't want to overdo it. We are going to keep an eye on this and make sure that it's just right so that we don't end up with little rubbery, rubbery pieces like rubber bands. All right. So now we're just going to let that sit for probably, I'm thinking 15 to 20 minutes, but I can already see it starting to turn, so maybe 15. We'll take a look at it in about 12 minutes here and see what happens. In the meantime, we have a lot of other things to accomplish. So let's go ahead and start with that. Now, as far as the potatoes go, I did choose a Yukon Gold potato for this, and these have already been baked. I pulled them out. As you can see, I poked the little holes and it baked out of there. And the reason I chose Yukon Golds as opposed to a russet, I actually prefer the flavor of russets and the texture of russets. I like the graininess, but I went with Yukon Golds because as opposed to a russet, they actually contain about half of your daily value of vitamin C if they're eaten raw. Now, as you know, vitamin C is water soluble, so if you boil the potatoes and make mashed potatoes out of them or whatever you're doing with them, it will decrease the vitamin C content more rapidly as the vitamin leaches out from the potatoes into the water and then degrades. And so I've chosen to bake these instead. And, baking within the skin, basically you've contained it within its own skin. And in essence, it's sort of steaming itself within the skin. Not as much of that vitamin C will end up leaching out of it. So you will lose some, it's inevitable, but, this preserves it more than boiling. And also, baking just produces a fluffier mashed potato due to not being waterlogged by boiling. So it's a better way to, in my opinion, it's a better way to do it anyway. And plus, baking provides leftover baked skins after scooping out the middle. So potato skins equals more recipes. So I know that we all like stuffed potato skins. So anyway, I am going to peel these. These are actually still hot. I do want to make the potatoes while they're still hot. If you let them get cold before you start working with them, it will start making them gluey. And when you start incorporating liquids into it, whether it's milk, whether it's cheeses, whatever you're doing, it will start just basically soaking up whatever you're adding to it, and it will become basically a starchy mess. So work with them when they're hot, and immediately get some sort of oil into them to coat the starch granules. So that could be butter, that could be cheese, whatever you choose to mix. Don't start off with a fluid right off the bat. Don't start off with milk right off the bat. Put something in it that will, again, cover those starch molecules or those granules so that it will actually repulse the water and it won't get gluey on you. So we'll go ahead and start peeling these. Well, actually, we'll just do this. And we're just going to scoop out the middles. Again, I will end up eating the skins. I actually love potato skins. There's a lot of different things you can do with them. And these are baked wonderfully. They're the perfect texture. And I have also softened. I'm going to use cream cheese, and I've already softened it. And I'm going to use a couple different cheeses. And that's because if I start adding it cold, again, it's gonna make it so that the potatoes get cold, and then they start getting gluey. So I'm doing everything I can to keep everything hot and not gluey. Okay, so then we're gonna put these into the mixer, and we're just gonna scoop these out. The shrimp is marinating nicely. It's definitely turning that opaque color that you're looking for. And by the way, one lime provides about 22% of your daily value of vitamin C. And so everything we're adding at this point is rich in the vitamin. And you're going to see when we add all the vegetables to the ceviche how much vitamin C we're actually adding. Into the mixer, I am going to use the whip attachment. I'm not going to use the paddle. I'm going to whip these as quickly as I can because I don't want to over whip them and make them gluey, like I said before. And I'm going to start with butter right off the bat. I will be putting butter into these to lock in those starch granules. And then once I add that butter and mix that around a little bit, then I will start adding the 2 different cheeses. Before I start adding any form of milk product, direct milk product. Okay. And so now these are going to go directly into the mixing bowl. And again, I don't want anything to be cold, including the butter, so I'm going to melt the butter. I have always preferred salted over unsalted. And in this particular dish, I sort of want the potatoes to be a little salty because the ceviche will not be. And I think that's going to do it for that. Okay, I have whipped the potatoes just enough to get the butter to coat everything and not over whipping it whatsoever, literally just enough to get that butter to incorporate. I'm now going to add cream cheese, and I'm also going to add, I don't know if it's boursin or boursin, but they did have a black pepper, and it's one of my favorites, but they were out at the store. And so I picked up shallot and chive. The ceviche is going to have shallot in it, and so I thought it might be a good match. But let me actually taste test this to see if it's going to be okay. Oh, that'll be wonderful. Okay, so cream cheese first. It's a little bit denser. Actually, it's a lot denser. This is really, really super airy. So let's get the dense one in first, mix it just a little bit. And I don't need to add this whole thing for that little bit of potatoes, so I'm only going to add half. And again, just going to mix this up to where it's just blended just enough, not over mixing. There is a good chance that I will not be adding milk to this at all, and I'm probably just going to add sour cream at the very end, and that will be our milk additive. I also don't need all of this either. That's going to be a little strong, so I'm just going to add about like that. Same thing, just enough. I'm going to add cracked black pepper, and I'm going to add white pepper, and I'm going to add cayenne to this bowl of potatoes. Now I like the pepper blends. The pepper hits the palate differently. You know, black pepper sort of hits the front of the mouth, and there's no mistaking when you've eaten black pepper. You know exactly what you've just eaten. White pepper is more subtle. It's more earthy. And from what I understand, white pepper actually derives from the actual pod being on the vine for a longer amount of time, and therefore it's sun bleached. And so actually, in a sense, I don't know if it's fermented or it's just aged, but whatever the case, it definitely has a more background earthy flavor and all-around pepper on your palate as opposed to the sharpness of black. And then you have cayenne, which, as you know, hits more of the back of the throat. So by the time you blend all of these together, you have a very, very well-rounded pepper content in your dish. And that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do with the potatoes here. And now to this, I'm gonna add just a pinch of salt and a little bit of sour cream. This will be instead of milk. I'm substituting this for milk. And here we have it. Creamy potatoes. Fluffy potatoes. And we'll go ahead and put our potato skins into a container. There are other recipes that we can build with those. There is one other thing I wanted to do because we're making potato cakes out of those. It's not your standard mashed potato. And so I am going to add a little bit of egg as a binder. I don't know if I want 1 or 2. It's going to be about 1 egg per every 4 cups of potatoes. And I think I have a little more than 4 cups in there, so let's do 2. And now that we've added the egg, I am going to add a little bit of panko breadcrumbs to just bind it slightly. There is going to be a layer on the outside because they are going to get fried, so I don't want to add too many, but just enough to make them so that they can be formed into patties. And I'm not going to measure this, it is just going to be by eye. Okay, so I'm going to let the mashed potatoes with the breadcrumbs kind of sit there and incorporate together. As it sits there, it is going to soften up those breadcrumbs, and we'll get a better texture once it sits. So I'm just going to let that sit there, and in the meantime, if we go back to our shrimp bowl, we now see that the shrimp has become opaque. And so the shrimp is now cooked. I don't know if I can get a good view of this for you. Let me go ahead and tilt the camera. And there it is. So this is just strictly lime juice. Now it is going to go a little further. I am seeing some pieces that need a little further work, but for the most part, we're there. So we have a lot of chopping to do while we wait for the rest of this to cook down. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure all pieces are covered at this point. And that's looking really good. Okay, so now we're going to start chopping up some vegetables to put in there. Now I did use red bell for the vitamin A video, and it turns out that red bell has a crazy amount of vitamin C in it. In fact, red bell has about 169% of your daily value. It's incredible. So we're going to go ahead and add this. And again, we have our vegetable wash. And certainly, you know, the amount of shrimp, that's about 1/2 pound of shrimp. So we're not going to add a lot of vegetables. I mean, when you bite into ceviche, you do want it to be mainly shrimp and then a little bit of other things. But there's so many other things that I'm about to incorporate that I'm going to be very, very minimal on the amounts. And that is just a very fine brunoise. I don't want chunks of red bell in here. So that's good enough for that. Tomato. I chose aroma for this, for the strong, pungent flavor. And with the tomato, I don't want the middle part. I don't want the seeds or any of that squishy part in the middle. I only want the meat of it. So I'm gonna cut only the sides. And that's it. That little gelatinous part in the middle, I'm gonna scrape that out. And again, very, very fine. One Roma tomato contains about 14% of your daily value of vitamin C. Obviously, we're not using the whole thing, but when we combine everything we're about to combine, as I said before, we're gonna have a plethora of vitamin C in here. I'm gonna add just a little more of that tomato. And that'll do it for that. Jalapeno. We don't think of jalapenos as having vitamin C. However, a serving of jalapeno has about 18% of your daily value. And of course, depending on how hot you would like to, or how spicy you would like to make this, you can either add the seeds or not add seeds, or add part of the seeds, or whatever you want. I might add a couple, but not a lot. Get a little bit of heat in there. Cucumber. as with the tomato, I don't want the mealy part in the inside. I just kind of want the meat around the edges. So you can save these little strips too. You can do kind of cute little things with them. I don't know if I'm artsy enough to make a rose or anything, but you can kind of make little swirls on the plate and cute little things like that, if you feel like being decorative. All right. That would almost make a nice little salad, wouldn't it? Sort of noodle-like. Okay, I'll think about that. Anyway, so I'm just gonna cut out the sides, and I'm trying not to cut into those seeds. I don't think I did the best job of that, but there's the middle, that's the idea. I'm not gonna use that at all. I'm just gonna use the outer pieces. So I am going to check the shrimp at this point because, as I said before, we don't want it to go too long. And I think it's gone long enough, and I want to get it off of that lime juice so that the shrimp does not become rubbery. Okay, and now, as you can see, I'm just draining this lime juice off. The shrimp has now turned entirely opaque, and that's what we're looking for. And I'm gonna try a little piece. Oh, it's perfect. It's not overdone. It's exactly where we need it to be. That was the perfect amount of time. Oh, wow, that's good. So I'm just gonna throw this lime juice out. And we'll just start putting our vegetables in here as well. Oh my goodness, that's good. And the quality of the shrimp matches what the labeling said. It's very good, very fresh. Albeit it is frozen, but it has a very, very, very clean taste. And it is buttery. They label it as being buttery, and it actually is. Okay, so there's that. Actually, you know what? No more cucumber. That'll be good. Now, you know, I sort of do want to save these. I feel like I might be able to do something. I almost feel like marinating those and making a little salad out of it. I think I will. Shallots. I really do not want a pronounced onion flavor in this, so I'm going to be very frugal with the amount of shallot that goes in here. Plus, the cheese that I added to the potatoes have shallot in them. As well as chive. That cheese has chive and shallot. So very, very fine chop. Believe it or not, shallots, you wouldn't think it, but shallots have about 6% of your daily value of vitamin C. Okay, so now, kiwi fruit. I am gonna add a little bit of fruit to this. Not only does it enhance the flavor, the sweetness obviously, but it also adds to our vitamin C content. And who doesn't like citrus with seafood, right? Kiwi has about, per kiwi, each kiwi has about 83% of your daily value of vitamin C. Some people eat the fuzzy part. I do not. And I think that would be a terrible texture in ceviche. These are going to be a little bit larger pieces because as I stir it, I don't want it to break down into a mush, and fruit will do that. So these are going to be just a little bit larger. And again, the same thing I did with the cucumber, I'm just kind of cutting around the core. I really only want the meat. I don't want all the seedy stuff in there. And that'll do it for that. Mango. I am going to wash the outside of this due to the way that I'm going to be cutting it. Mangoes can be a little bit tricky to peel, and there's all sorts of variations on this. I'm just making little grooves in it, all the way down to the bottom of the skin. So now you end up with little squares. And I'm just going to shave this. And there you have it. And I don't want overkill. I think that's as much as I'm going to go. I believe mango contains somewhere around 67% of your daily value of vitamin C per serving. Red, green, yellow, white. Get the whole spectrum. And speaking of spectrum, pomegranate seeds. I'm not going to go crazy on these. These have about 32% of your daily value of vitamin C per serving. Just a little. This is looking really pretty. So now we have almost a little bit of purple with those seeds in there. I had a half avocado from the retinol sandwich video. I never did use it for avocado toast. I thought I was going to. I literally forgot it was in there in the fridge. So we're about to use that right now. Now, once the avocado is in there, I really don't want to be stirring it very much. I don't want it to break down into a weird guacamole texture. Okay, so that's that. I feel like that's enough. I'll just eat these. Cilantro. Cilantro is an interesting herb. I find that either people love it or they hate it. There's no in between. It's sort of like rye bread. You don't find people that sort of like it and sort of don't. They either love it or they hate it. Cilantro grew on me over time. At first, I didn't like it at all. And then the more I started using it, the more it really grew on me. And now I just really like that freshness about it. I've come to appreciate it. So obviously, any of these ingredients are optional. That'll probably do it. When you think about ceviche, you think about plantain chips, you know, wonton chips, things like that. You really don't think about doing potatoes with it. And that was just kind of my personal preference. My favorite ceviche dishes are with wonton strips, as opposed to tortilla strips or anything like that. Even over plantain. And finally, pineapple. I found these nice little pineapples. They're called Pink Glow. And these little Pink Glows tend to be very, very sweet. So I'm a big fan. I was happy to see that they had them because I picked out, I think it's called a Honey Glow pineapple. And they were very green, and I found one that was somewhat yellow, but not really. And then I was like, well, I guess that's all they have. But then I saw these on another fruit stand, and I was like, oh, yes, that's what I want right there. And look at the color of that. These are beautiful. Okay. And pineapple, one serving of pineapple contains about 131% of your daily value of vitamin C. Oh, wow. These are the best pineapples. You know how you get pineapples in heavy syrup in the can? That's what this is like, but there's no heavy syrup. These are incredible. I think that's all I'm going to add because I don't want it to be super fruity, and already we've put pomegranate in there, we've put pineapple, we've put mango, kiwi, so I'm not going to overload it with pineapple. So I think we're done. I'm gonna stir it one last time. Again, I didn't want the avocado to become a guacamole in there. That wasn't the point. So I'm just gonna give it one last stir and call it good. But in the meantime, I did notice previously that when I tasted it, it could use a little bit of salt. Now there is salt in the potatoes, and so I want to be careful with this. I'm just going to add a pinch, and the jalapeno should do it on the pepper. So I'm thinking we're good to go. Put a little in. I think that's gonna do it. I can't wait for the creaminess of that potato combined with the freshness of this. Best combination. Give it one good stir. And I'll tilt the camera so that you have a good close-up of this, and you'll see how well this shrimp cooked. It's absolutely perfect. And that's it. Let me move this for you. And that's what we ended up with. I'm going to give it a quick taste test. We'll get a little bit of everything in there. Oh, I was worried a little bit about the jalapeno. I didn't want that heat to drown out everything else. It definitely did not. All it did was complement the sweetness and the fruit. And I tell you what, if I ordered that in a restaurant, I would return for sure. This is really, really good. So there you have it. This is basically a bowl of vitamin C. And so with that, we're gonna start our potato project. We're gonna return to the bowl of mashed potatoes here, and we're gonna start frying little patties. And that way we have our little fried patties, our crunchy on the outside and our nice and creamy in the middle with our fresh salad here. And so we'll get going on that. So you might remember from the retinol sandwich video, I had started using the sunflower oil. I have now become a big fan of this, and this is actually what we're going to fry these little potato cakes in. This has a very high smoke point, meaning that you can obviously brown things very, very well, because this will come to a very high temperature to do so. So it's actually a really good oil for frying, as it turns out. I did a little more research on that after I did the initial research, and the more research I do, the more I'm liking this oil, so I'm just gonna stick with it. Now at the same time, I've transferred the potatoes from the bowl, from the mixer, into this, into this glass bowl here. And remember when I said I was letting it sit such that the breadcrumbs would be able to kind of soak up some of that moisture and just kind of, become more of a firm texture? That's exactly what happened. And actually, as it turns out, I'm not going to add any more panko breadcrumbs because the texture right now is ideal. And so we are where we need it to be. This is my little ice cream scoop. I'm gonna spray it out with a quick spray. And that's how I'm gonna measure these patties. Taking the bottom of a coffee mug, I'm just gonna press it down. And we'll just let those fry till we get golden brown on both sides. Okay, so what we ended up with are these really, really pretty mashed potato patties. And to this, I'm going to be adding, obviously, the star of the show, the ceviche. And so this is my version versus tortilla chips or plantain chips or, like I said, wonton chips. I really like wonton chips with this, but my personal preference, a mashed potato. And especially these nice golden brown patties, those are perfect. So now we have that brilliant color and the completely contrasting textures and temperatures. Absolutely perfect. This is my evolution of the thing that I always craved as a teenager. Thanks for watching, you guys. Stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.